What's up? What's up? What's up? What's going on, everybody? Welcome to today's edition of the P Coffee Brown Show. Hope everybody's having a fantastic Sunday, fun day. Jason, I don't know what happened to your thumbs up. That is just so
I don't
disrespectful.
know. I was just testing it. You saw me.
Yeah, that's so
It's not doing it no more. It
That
used
thing was
to.
on the. It was rocking and rolling. Like
Yeah, I don't know.
disrespect. I mean,
Hey
really?
man,
That's what we
hey,
doing out here in these streets.
maybe
That's what I say about it.
because of the tariffs, it's too expensive for them to do it
Man,
anymore.
there you
You
go.
know what?
See
I am so done. You
that
talking
part.
about because of tariffs? I'm done. I'm so
Hey
done.
man,
Yeah,
Hey
maybe
that's
y'all.
probably what it
maybe it
is.
is. What's up, boss? What's up? Maybe it is the tariffs that's
Hey.
causing it. But speaking of tariffs, apparently the president has made some. He's making concessions with China to keep the prices low because China was getting ready. They was going in with him. They was like, "Oh, you want to do this? Let's go. Let's go. Let's do it then."
Can
So
you
he
blame
kind
hmm
of
him?
realizing that everybody is not dealing with it just because he's trying to throw it out there. Everybody ain't going for it. So I was like, okay, I like what I'm seeing. Kind of
He's
making
trying to he's
business
trying to bully
excellent.
them, and he's trying to bully them, and they just standing up for themselves. You can't fault
Period.
him for that.
I
Exactly.
mean, he trying to bully quite a few people, if you ask me. So yeah.
Yeah,
So now I think he coming to the realization that people are not just going to roll over because he says roll over.
hmm
I think he get to the point where he's like, okay, they not gonna just okay because I want them to roll. They just not gonna do what I'm asking. So okay, I
hmm
think I'm gonna get myself together at this point. So I'm like, okay, that's what I'm talking about. That is what I'm talking about. In the other news, I saw a actual image of P Diddy without the hair color, and apparently people are talking about how in prison life this is how you look versus in your social media life. So I shared with somebody. I said I don't know if that's really a picture of him or if it's AI and somebody just did it just to do like a little hacking because they're still on that same freaking topic after all this time. How long we gonna talk about P Diddy?
I mean, he's older than all of us, so I mean, why would we expect him not to be gray? I mean,
he's
his hair was too perfectly colored. I mean, look
he's
at the two dudes on here. We're younger than him, and both of us have some level of gray in our hair, and his never had any. So, I mean, what are you talking about?
The prayer was like, yeah, now we know the truth, Cody.
he's not the only one. You got a bunch of superstars that are females. They have no gray. Are you serious?
I mean, everybody not gonna be gray. Y'all act like everybody gonna get gray hair.
If you're past the age of 40 and you don't have any gray, either you have some phenomenal genetics or you got a good hair treatment. And it's just
Everybody,
honest.
everybody does not get gray. I need to do some research on the percentage of
No,
people who
everybody
actually
doesn't.
get
But I mean, living the
gray.
lifestyle he lives, you mean to tell me you don't think he's gonna have gray living the lifestyle he was living?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
He not sleeping. He not getting proper rest. So you
He
know
would
he
be up for
ain't.
3 days straight.
So if you think about it, if he's got that type of lifestyle, his body, I don't know what his age is now, but I know he's not in his 50s. He's actually got the body of somebody that's way older because of all the stress he's put on his body.
could be, could be. That makes
I
sense.
knew I knew his I knew his hair was dyed all these years. I'm like, his hair color is too ice black. Like it's not just black, it's ice black.
The
Right.
prayer says ice
Hey man,
black.
hey, look how Steve Harvey lied to us for years. Oh, that's
Oh
his hair.
gosh,
That's his hair. Man, that is a hair piece, man.
is that a hairpiece?
Yes.
Hey, did you ever hear the like a
Oh, you
documentary
talking
or he
about
was
like
talking
when he
about
was on the Steve Harvey show? That was
yes,
a hairpiece
yes.
too.
Hey,
Stop playing, Vincent. Stop
his
playing.
barber that was doing it for him, he was paying his barber $1,500 a week to maintain that.
Oh, so he was the original hairpiece
Yes. So
OG.
okay,
Yeah.
so I'll put it to you like this. You know how ladies, when y'all get your hairs layered with the weave and then they come back and cut, like if you wanted a bob cut, that's what they were doing. They would put hair on his head and shape it.
Yep.
He was getting a 27 piece.
And it was glued down. The same stuff
Yeah,
that
a
they
quick
talk about
weave.
women. Yeah, he got a quick weave. That's what it was. Been lying all those years, man.
Hey, what did Cat Williams said? He got a man unit.
Yeah.
He ain't the only one. There's a couple of them cats got him.
Akon, he admitted to you he used to have a man unit at one time. The singer,
No
Akon, yeah,
way.
he admitted to
No
it
way. Well, his
before he went
waves
bald.
did,
He just went
yeah,
on and cut it off.
his waves did give, hairpiece shade down.
They're too deep.
Yeah.
Nah, man. Nah. Nah.
Yeah.
Well, I got
Nah.
a man piece, and I mean
Hey,
that's
man.
cool. Whatever.
Hey, that barber was loving him. I'm tell you that. /
Oh,
hairstylist
for sure. That was 3,000 what?
every 2 weeks.
Okay, so it's 3,000 a month. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's 1,500 every 2 weeks. Yeah.
So
Mm-hmm.
imagine what they charging now.
Absolutely. And
It's
then, everything is all advanced. So they got hair pieces that looks even more natural.
Mhm.
I'm gonna go get one myself.
What they got, you don't have to.
No, I don't
Hey,
have to, but I'm
man.
gonna show up. I'm gonna have like a
Hey.
big like curly fro. It's just gonna
I'm good.
It's gonna look like I'm running when I'm standing in place.
I don't need none of that. All mine is natural.
Yeah, y'all got the good genes going over there.
All hair is good hair. You know what I mean? Just different textures.
No, I wasn't talking about the grade. I was talking about the fact that y'all still have y'all hair.
Oh,
Most
yes,
men,
ma'am. I received.
most
Now
men
that I
don't have
received.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I used to hate it when people would talk about the grade, and I'm sitting here like, you don't have to deal with this in the morning. Don't say it's a good grade of hair. You
Sure
don't, man, please. You know what I'm saying? People like, oh, your hair ain't nappy. It may not be what you consider nappy, but it definitely gets tangled, and you sit there with a pick just in one spot.
Or my personal favorite, go outside when it's windy and see what your hair gonna do.
Man.
That joker going straight up.
Yeah. Exactly.
So
exactly.
Each one of them got its pros and its cons, man.
Exactly. Absolutely. Hey, back when we used to wear flat tops, it wouldn't always, it wouldn't. One side be like straight, the other side be rounded and stuff. Yeah, man.
Yeah, certain hairstyles ain't for everybody, man.
I'm sure that was like an art of keeping your hair in its shape.
Oh
yeah. Oh yeah.
Man, I had a coworker, and he's about 6'7". I didn't know he had this. And he sat down one day. I'm like, man, why his top of his head look great looking?
Mm-hmm.
He had that spray hair in the can that they used with a ruler to line it up. I'm sitting there, I'm like, ooh.
What color was it?
It was black, but you could at a certain angle, it looked gray looking.
Like shiny, yeah.
Yes. I'm like, man, your hair ain't blowing to that black, man. Nah.
Yeah. Now, some people that get those edge ups, because their hair's starting to recede a little bit right here.
Yeah.
But it's funny because they'll have a nice lineup that kind of goes back. You know what I'm saying? I mean, they keep a nice lineup, but then every now and again you see them and it looks like their hairline is back where it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
And you get close and you realize that part right there is painted on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I know some actors that do that from time to time, and it's like, hey, I get it. We all got to do something to kind of look a certain way, but good Lord, yeah.
I didn't realize how much that particular industry makes with the hair products and the facial stuff. Mm-hmm. It's really a lot.
Yeah.
A whole lot.
And as much as we spend in that industry, we should be owning a lot more of it.
Absolutely.
It's no way a person, if you're a nice looking person and you keep yourself up, it's no way you're not spending good money on facial products, hair products, all that stuff, man.
Or in my case, Corel. I don't use a lot of hair products, man. I actually use regular lotion.
Hey.
Well, you're blessed. Everybody just can't slip.
I mean,
a little
I
lotion
understand.
on there and go.
Man.
So
little water amazing. and a little
water.
Yeah, a little water, little lotion, and
That's it.
I get up in the morning, pick my little joint out, so that way it stands back up. That way I don't have one just flat side, and then and then I just brush it back, brush my beard down, and keep moving.
So do y'all tie your hair down?
No. I mean, when I had a bald fade and my hair was a lot lower, I would tie it down every now and again. Every now and again, I'd tie it down. If it gets like that, I tie it down for about 5 minutes. I mean, I wouldn't sleep like that, no. But I tie it down for about 5 minutes to get it to lay down and just take the thing off, keep brushing and go.
See, a lot of cats, man, they could put a fitted hat on, man, take it off good. I put a cap on, I gotta keep it on, because if I take it
Yeah.
off, man, my hair all over my head, man.
And you know what's so funny is that people used to say, man, you don't hardly ever wear hats. And that's one of the main
That's
reasons
why.
why. Yeah.
Yes. So you
And the
keep
other
a
reason
cap
is
on.
because the other reason is people don't recognize me with a hat on. I can have a derby on. You know, it's a real short brim about this long that goes
Mm-hmm.
around that hat. I can walk straight past people and they be like, Jason, after I didn't walk about 20 feet away from them. You know,
Question.
yes, ma'am.
Do you think that wearing a hat frequently alters your
Contributes.
hairline, or
Yes, it does.
yeah,
Think about
yeah,
it. Most basketball coaches and football coaches are bald and have no hairline.
Mm.
yeah,
And think about it, you always got that. It's not even cotton. A lot of it is like polyester and stuff. And
It's
so you're
true.
basically killing your
yeah.
follicles with that plastic stuff on the inside of those hats that are right there and taking it on and off. You'll see a lot of welders, people who have to wear those welding hats and stuff like that. Their hairline starts going back.
Yeah. And then
Well, now that we're done with all the pre-show, and I want to apologize, everyone. I had some technical issues on my part, and technology is just not showing me a lot of respect today. I don't know why it's being disrespectful. I don't know why. It's the same studio, same equipment, same information. I don't understand. But today it just wanted to be disrespectful. So but I'm back though. I'm back.
we
I'm
accept
back
you.
to
We
my own
accept
show.
we accept your apology, Koffe.
I
It's
know, right?
I know you didn't mean it. We
You
got
didn't want
it.
you didn't
We
want to play with us
understand.
today.
Yes.
You told us to get on the
Yes.
show. You
Yeah,
started getting us
I
talking,
didn't
and
want
you
to
was like,
play.
"All right,
I didn't
then."
want to play in the sandbox. I didn't want to
Nah, you didn't want to play with
yeah,
us
and then
today.
she dart out the conversation and just leave us
Yep,
I didn't
there.
want to play in the sandbox of life. I'm just not right. I need to get
it
myself together.
happens. It
But
happens.
listen, let's get into our topic. Now that we done talked
Okay.
about hairlines, Curel, baby oil, castor oil,
Baby oil,
lotion, water
castor
in the
oil.
hair, which
Back
I do to
next
my
week.
hair.
All
Let's
that,
put a little
all that.
water up in there. I know, right? I love what y'all were talking about, but I was like, man, I sure wish I could get in the conversation if my computer would show some respect. But hey, it is what it is. But today we are talking about something that's very important for people to contemplate and consider, especially if you intend to leave an inheritance for your family other than money. Other than money. So we're talking about building a legacy or just making a living. The difference between income and impact. A lot of times people think that they're building a legacy, they're leaving something for their family, but they're not realizing that what they're leaving is not something that the next generation can actually keep up with. You have to have something that's super sustainable for
Mm-hmm.
generations to keep going on with it. Recently, one of my siblings, he has a company. He's a blue collar worker. He has a multi-million dollar company, and he's like one of the number one companies in his market. And we were talking about legacy and legacy building. I said, how is somebody going to take over this company? What steps are you going to take so they can effectively take over it? And then,
Mm-hmm.
because basically all of my siblings, we all have some type of entrepreneurial endeavor. I have another sibling who is in the hospitality industry by way of food service. And I said to her, think about it. Who's going to take over your company when you decide that you no longer want to prepare food for people? When you decide, hey, I don't
Mm-hmm.
want to do this anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I'm done with it. Yada yada yada. Who is going to take over? How is that going to be a actual legacy producing business? And so we have to make sure that we understand, are we building a legacy, or are you just making a living? Are you thinking that it's a legacy, but it's not something that can be transferred forward? Perfect concept. A job. You have this wonderful high paying position within some organization. Well, we all know that nobody can inherit that from us. Once we're
Mm-hmm.
gone from that, that's just it. So that is another thing that you have to consider when you're on the left side of the quadrant. You want to get on the right side. Robert Kiyosaki, The Four Quadrants. You'll have to check out that book when you have some time. But on the left side of the quadrant is employee and self-employed. And a lot of people that think that they're actually leaving a legacy, it's actually self-employment, and it's
Mm-hmm.
non-transferable. It's really non-transferable. Your family won't be able to do anything with it. Recently, a lady put a post on LinkedIn. It was really interesting too. She said, I got a confession. I said for the longest that I was creating a successful business, but in fact, I was creating a successful job for myself in the self-employment space, thinking that I'm creating a successful business, but it's replicatable and nobody can replicate this after I'm gone. What could
Mm-hmm.
I have done differently? So she put up this post and it got a lot of traction and it made a lot of sense, which is where this particular topic came from. Are you living? Are you really leaving a legacy or are you just making a living? And so we all have to at some point kind of think about that. Is there something that I'm doing that is transferable for another generation to just pick it up? They have all the steps that they need to pick it up and they'll be able and well equipped to keep doing what it is that I'm doing. Guys, listen, this is something that people have to really think about.
Very true. One of the
Absolutely.
things, one of the things that I used to tell people to keep in mind, especially when I was out in the streets more, and I don't mean like streets, but just out being more social.
Was you out in the streets and you just tried to downplay it just
All
now?
right, if you would let me
So
finish,
you saying
Coffee.
you saying
But
you for the
no, when I was
streets?
out being more
You
social,
heard him, Vincent.
and
Go ahead,
More
stuff,
so?
Vincent.
Oh, you going better? Okay.
you know what? Remind me to fight both of y'all when I see y'all. But
You heard him,
Okay.
one of the
Vincent.
things,
Go ahead,
one
Vincent.
of
Yeah. Okay. Okay. I'm gonna leave him alone. Right for right
I
now.
was trying to make a point if I could ever get my words out. But no, I used to talk to, like, I have an aunt that's a florist. I got a buddy that's a barber, etc. And they're both very, very, very successful. I have an uncle who owns his own company as well, but none of them have employees. So it's hard to leave a legacy when everything pretty much hinges on the factor of you getting up to go do the work.
Yeah.
So if you don't get up and you don't go do the work, then it's really hard to leave something behind for, your kids, etc. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So, even when, like, with me working in insurance, I mean, a lot of my, like, I have a job. So basically I'm an employee. So I have nothing I can leave behind for my family outside of insurance stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of the brokers that I deal with, they can actually leave a book of business
Mm-hmm.
for their kids. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Now, a lot of them, when they get ready to retire, they will sell their book of business to their kids for a discounted price. So they
Mm-hmm.
might have a multi-million-dollar book of business that they sell to their kid for 500K.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So now their kid has a book of business to maintain, to monitor, to grow, etc. Right? And that was their end game all along. Unfortunately, a lot of us, like you said, are self-employed.
Mm-hmm.
We don't, I mean, even as a broker, a lot of times you work for a company, but at least you're building your own book of business, right?
Right.
But
Right.
as a barber or a florist or, etc., most of us end up being self-employed. So when it's time for us to leave the game, whether it's due to health reasons or we're just tired of it or whatever else, there's nothing really to leave behind. Like, what does a barber leave behind? Clippers and a chair? You still
Yeah.
got to rent the chair. You know what I mean?
But you
Not,
still got to go to school for it too, and you still have to pass the examinations and everything else. So you really can't leave a unless that person
yeah, you
takes
just can't
that
leave it.
business.
Leave it. I mean,
Yeah,
even in my field in the insurance, those brokers I'm talking about, their kids still have to go get their
their
license,
license
right?
exactly. Yeah,
So I mean, to me, that's somewhat minimal in
yeah,
terms, when you're
true.
talking about $1 million books of business. But then again, most barbers don't have $1 million businesses, right? A lot of them do very
Correct.
well, six-figure earners, etc. But a lot of them don't have $1 million businesses. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, unless they own a shop and they
Unless they own a shop. Now, if
and
you own a
rent a
shop, you can
shop.
leave
Yeah,
that to a kid. You can
Totally
leave
yeah,
that,
different. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Which
because you have other barbers working in there. So technically, you have, even though they don't work directly for you, they're still self-employed, but they're
Mhm.
still technically employees of yours because they're working in your shop, right?
Right, right.
They just pretty much set their own schedule and do what they do. But at least you're leaving behind a shop as opposed to
Mhm.
just a chair, if that
Yeah,
makes sense. You know
yeah.
what I
That
mean?
makes perfect sense. Go ahead, Dupree.
Yeah. I was gonna say when I realized that I was working to the extent of if I don't get up and do something, I'm not gonna make any money. Things changed for me. I had did hair for 8 years and my hands, still to this day, my hands, sometimes I can't feel them, like even enough
Hmm.
to open a bottle because I've done so much work with my hands to the point where I was gonna be out of business anyway. So my self-employment was gonna be limited, right?
Mhm.
And I already knew that being an employee wasn't just in the cards for me, just how my life's set up. So I had to start transitioning out of that and building something for my children. So I created the hair care company and it was absolutely amazing. And then I'm like, okay, I need something else. I need something else. And when I think about the way that I build my income streams, I'm thinking about how I'm going to do XYZ in order for me to get income. So if it requires labor, um, more than likely it's not going to be for me because I'm trying to get away from having to do something in order to get something.
Mhm.
Residual income, passive income, building a portfolio of different properties or whatever for myself and for my children, but also having my hair care company, quote unquote, like a franchise in different cities, different states, to where they still have that when I'm not here.
Mm-hmm.
Even when it comes to like my holistic wellness practices, having a center for people to go for healing and things of that sort, it doesn't necessarily will require me to go and do physical work in order for it to work, right?
Mhm.
So
Makes sense, yeah.
when I realized that my body was responding to all of the hard labor, I was like, I have to figure things out.
Mhm.
And I didn't realize before how much self-employment I was like living and existing in until my hands started to, hurt just by me waking up and I can't feel them, or my feet bothering me, or my back bothering me. These are things that I still have long lasting effects from me being a hairstylist. So I don't think that a lot of people, especially in that field, that industry, I don't
Mhm.
think that they really take note of how hard it is on your body and how do you transition out of that, because I have a lot of friends who are hairstylists, and they still trying to figure out how do they get from behind the chair. So this was a great topic that I was really excited to talk about, because a lot of people don't know that they're not building generational wealth or legacy. They are, pretty much just living and working for a living. That's it.
Mhm.
And we're not saying that those businesses aren't successful. I mean, they are
Right.
definitely
Right.
successful. These people are
Right.
definitely, I mean, they found most of the cheat code. Let's put it that way. I mean, they're
Right.
steps
Absolutely.
ahead of your typical employee, etc. So when you hear us talking about leaving behind a legacy, it's not to say that your business that you built is not successful. It's like, how do you leave it behind? How do you
Right.
Mm-hmm.
continue it?
Here,
That's the
here's
talk I had with my uncle, because neither one of his kids got into his business. Now
here's a
And
I'm
that's
partially in his business, and he has talked to me about potentially coming in to partner with him.
mhm.
But I mean, he travels a lot more than I want to at this particular time, right?
Yeah, and
So
that's another thing. You just said a mouthful. If they aren't in the business, then who is going to be your successor? That's another thing that people have to start thinking about. If they don't want to do what you're doing, like when my daughters, when they see me like packaging a book and putting a book together for publishing, they're like, I don't
hmm
want to do that. That's too much work. I don't want to do that.
That's what I
It's
was.
not
Yes.
attractive to them. So you have to figure out how, if you feel like the business that you have is a legacy business and you want it to breed legacy, you got to figure out who's going to be my successor, or will I eventually have to sell the brand off to somebody once I get it to a certain level of profitability. Do I sell it off to somebody and then keep a portion of it for my family namesake, so that after I'm gone, my family name will still be attached to it? They may not directly totally own it, but in some kind of form or fashion, in order to keep the legacy going, maybe they have to do some type of silent partnership or something along those lines. But Vincent, I know you wanted to chime in.
It's man, this is a perfect topic because when you initially said it and you sent it to us, the first thing that came to mind to me, okay, if I'm leaving a legacy, how are they going to keep it going to
Yeah,
protect it? It's
yeah,
one thing to build it. If you're not here no more, how are they going to keep it going? So
exactly.
either they're raised in it and you show them the value of it,
Hmm.
or you put things in place to protect it. Which brings me to this. I was watching this older gentleman on TikTok. His name is Tim Fulton. His daughter is always showing different projects he's doing, and he's involved. He got way more than 7 streams of income, but he would always talk to his daughter about protecting the brand and making sure it stays there. He has a book he put out. She encouraged him to go. It's called the Your Guide to the Revocable Trust to protect assets, land, all this everything. And it's funny because I'm actually reading this book right now, and it talks about legacies and how to, keep them going even after you're not here.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very important if you're going to build legacy. Are you going to raise your kids into this to teach them the business? And then what if they don't want to learn the business, like you said, Koffe? So I need to put something in place to protect them from themselves, even when I'm not here.
Yeah.
That's another. It's legacy doesn't mean something monetary. Legacy can mean something that's put in place to protect them even from themselves.
And even if it's monetary and you're a person who is an employee and you really do not have a business, but you definitely still want to leave a legacy, how do you manage it from the grave? How do you really
Yeah.
manage it? How do you
Yeah.
make certain that your wishes are honored? Well, you got to make sure you have a living will. You got to make sure that you have a trust in place. You got to make sure that you have certain things in
Yes.
place to be certain that when you're gone, those children cannot do what they want to do with those resources. Like when my husband passed away, perfect example. Unexpectedly, but fortunately, we had our affairs in order to where there were certain things that he wanted done, and it was in writing before he was real young when he passed, but he still had stuff in writing to say, oh, this is exactly where this is going, and this is how this is supposed to be utilized. So
Okay,
nobody
so
could
the app
review it
finally
because it
froze
was
up a
already in
little
writing.
bit.
Yeah.
Huh?
Because
You said what,
I
Jason?
don't.
I
Jason,
think
what
Jason
did you
has a
say?
delay on his side.
No, the app was freezing up a little bit here and there, but it was on Facebook Live and stuff. It was doing real good, but it finally froze up a little bit.
Because
Okay, so it
no,
must have been okay.
Koffe, are you back?
she never
We
left.
was good. We was good. It's on your end.
Okay.
Because Koffe,
Yeah,
you're exactly 100% right,
Yeah.
man, and that's
yeah.
why with when you don't have those living wills, those
Hmm.
trusts put into place.
Hmm.
This is something I learned. Me and Jason talk about this all the time. Where we like, man, I really wish when I was younger, my mindset was here where
Right,
I could have planned. So you have to plan, not just for now, 10, 15 years from now.
right,
And it
Yeah.
has to be something you have to force. You have to change your mindset and realize, man, this is a sense of urgency. I have to do this.
right,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's no
right,
option around it.
right.
Right.
So
And
that's
then
why
you
we.
have to have that conversation with the individuals that are going to benefit. You
Yeah.
have to have a
Absolutely.
And
conversation
guess
with them
what? The
to
guy
let
I'm
them
talking
know.
about, he would
Yeah.
actually do this live, Koffe. He would have conversations with his daughter, her
Hmm.
husband,
Hmm.
and he had a whole guide that he put together, the trust that he put together. When I say it was locked and laid,
Hmm.
it was amazing. And when his book came out, I hurried up and ran and got it because I
Yeah.
watched it from when he started, and they was really hands on the entire way.
Right, because
Um,
you gotta even
Yeah,
act because some of your children,
yeah.
you depending on their personality and who they are,
Mm-hmm.
I saw this program one time. It was very, very interesting. And it was a film, but it was based on true and real accounts. What happened was this guy, he passed away. He was very affluent and extremely prominent. And so what ended up happening was he set up all of his children to where they didn't get any resources from him until they turned 40 years old.
Oh
Mm.
And
wow.
then the way that he also set it up was that they had to have some type of education, whether it was
Mm-hmm.
formal or non-formal. They had to do something past high school.
Ooh,
It wasn't
man.
it wasn't optional. If they didn't have some type of education, they wouldn't get those assets either. And the last thing that he did was if they were married and they had a family, a portion of the proceeds that they received would go to their next generation. So
Nice.
basically, his grandbabies. And he was smart. He was very smart when it came to that because he was like, let me make sure I cover all of my bases, not just one or two, but I'm covering all my bases. So with him saying you got to get some kind of education, he didn't specify what. He just said you had to have either some kind of certification, some type of degree, something to where it shows that you sat down and you continue to learn
Mm-hmm.
past your high school years. You really went somewhere and you sat down and you continued to study. But
Mm-hmm.
all of that, still, you had to be 40 years old, because it's been said that once you turn 40, on average, once a person turns 40, they are set in who they're going to be. Now, a
Mm.
person can change, because we've seen people do it plenty of times. They turn 50 and they just have this magic light bulb moment. They make a shift in. At that particular decade, that's a major shifting decade as well. The 50s is just as powerful as the 40s.
Mm-hmm.
So, but for the most part, once a person turns 40, that's pretty much the definition as to who they're going to be.
Mm-hmm.
So that was really, really deep, just to hear how he set that up to where no one would be able to take advantage of the resources, and they would have to live their life basically up until that point. So what you gonna do? Just sit by the roadside until you turn 40? I don't think so. You're gonna have
Right.
something going on before you turn 40. And that was smart, because on average, most people let their children get those funds released at 25, which is
Mm-hmm.
still a dangerous age. That's an age where
Mm-hmm.
you're not real mature, you don't know what you're really doing. You don't know, a lot most children, when they get money, especially some type of substantial amount of resources
Mm-hmm.
at that young age, they blow it. They waste those resources. So
Yes, they do.
40 is a significant age. And I think that's smart to say, hey, you got to have some kind of education, but be it a certification or you're doing traditional school. And then from there, once you turn 40, then you can go ahead and get the bag. So I think I think that's another thing to consider, is like, if you know your children, and you know them from the standpoint of whatever it has been that you've experienced with them, but what you don't know is necessarily how they're going to respond to a large sum of money.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I think that
Well,
it's
right.
really important for our generations at this day and age to really start buckling down on all these things, because we could talk about what they didn't do in our past, because a lot of them had homes, they had land, they had
Hmm.
all those things, and we don't have nothing to show for it.
Hmm.
So we could keep talking about
Very
it, or
true.
we can be proactive and do something about it for our generations to come after us. So they will have something to show for it. Because when I say my family on both sides had land, had homes, multiple homes, had a garden, all these things, and we don't have it now. And
Hmm.
it's like, how do you get that secure in in a place of property and ownership, and now it's like it never existed, you know what I mean? So
Mhm.
having these trusts and things in place and actively learning the laws and how to go about XYZ is so important in this day's
Mm-hmm.
time.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm, mhm.
Well, you
I
And
got to
think.
keep in
then
mind as well that they also have, I mean, we're under a warfare, and I don't even mean people of color, black people, or anything else. I'm talking about just people. We're
mhm,
Yeah.
under a warfare, and Vincent, you'll feel me on this one. Is the reason they build a lot of these neighborhoods and they get rid of the country areas, or they try to get rid of as many of the country areas as they can, is because we don't know how to hunt anymore. We don't know
Yeah.
how to go and plant our own crops.
Survive.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
mhm,
Exactly.
mhm.
So Vincent and I know if we go walk out into a field, our sense of smell protects us a lot. We know
Hmm.
when we start getting close to deer. You know when you start getting close to hogs and snakes, etc., because you can smell it.
Yeah, it smells
The
different.
atmosphere changes. You know what I mean? You can look at the ground and tell that the ground has changed, right?
Mhm,
So
Yeah.
we don't know how to do a lot of this stuff
mhm.
ourselves. Then on top of that, let's talk about attention spans with social media and everything else. So you're talking about reading books and you're talking about watching movies that teach you how to
Yeah.
set up trust and everything else. A lot of us these days don't have the attention span. We have the knowledge, but don't
Yeah.
have the attention span to see it through.
Mhm. Very true.
You're
To follow through.
so right. So right. Oh my gosh.
But you
And
know what though?
with that is a part of you being a disciplined person. You have to change yourself in a lot of ways if you want these things to happen for yourself and your children, grandchildren,
Mm-hmm.
so on.
Mhm,
Because I know for myself, I didn't come from structure. I didn't come from discipline and all these things. I didn't see that in my household. So I
Hmm.
had to create that for myself. And the person that I see 5 years from now, 10 years from now, looks a certain way and it requires me to become that today. So I forced myself to read 2 books every month and I've been going strong. Even with the gym and learning new things, I make it a point to learn new things. So that attention span, it's like once you start, you literally have to keep on yourself like, no, sit here and do this, sit here and do this,
Right.
training yourself.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And then when your former self says the opposite, you have to say, nah, no thanks. And just you have to
Mm-hmm.
make yourself do it.
You have
Yeah.
to
You have to
reteach.
really make yourself do it because a part of us by nature, the brain tries to preserve you from something happening. The brain
Mm-hmm.
always wants to
Mm-hmm.
preserve and keep you safe. So, because the
Mm-hmm.
brain is designed to keep you safe, every time you step outside of the zone of comfort where the brain feels safe, it's going to try to tell you, no, don't do it, don't do it. So, you have to condition yourself to fight through the natural inclination of your brain to tell you not to do it. It's like the concept of when we have children and we're constantly telling them no, 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 no. It's not very often that you hear a parent saying yes, 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 yes. They're always
Right.
Mm-hmm.
telling them they're creating all of these boundaries in their brain. So as they get older, those boundaries tend to try to overtake that urgency when you get that drive and that energy to go do something outside of what you've heard that no for so long because no is so attached to us from the time we come into the planet. We're don't do that. No, no, stop. Don't go over there. Don't do this.
Mm-hmm.
Don't do that. No, no, don't run over there. Don't do this. Da, 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 da. So in your mind is constantly like trying to spare you from the probability of something happening. And it's so crazy because I was telling somebody the other day, I said, if you walk outside, there's a probability, period. But
Yeah.
Mhm.
honestly, who thinks about that?
Mhm.
When you leave your
Right.
house, are you thinking about, well, you know what? I might not come home. I
Very
may,
true.
I may need to. No, you're not thinking about that. When somebody invites you to a party or you going to an event, you get dressed, you get in your vehicle, you head to the event. You're not thinking like that. So that's how you have to condition your mind to say, hey, I'm going to pursue what I'm going to pursue, period. And then the brain will eventually catch up. But you have
Mm-hmm.
to force the mind to make a different decision. Otherwise, you'll find yourself in the same exact zone forever. And you won't be able to get yourself out of that. It's like a car, and you got a car, and you gotta you gotta put the car in drive in order for it to go. But you're like, well, it's in park. What do I do? What you mean what you do? Put it in drive and go. Put your foot on
Exactly.
the
You
accelerator
know
and
what?
go.
It's you said something. Well, y'all all said something real powerful, and I think a lot of people do not do this. They don't test their limits.
Mm-hmm.
Very true.
You have
Yeah.
to push, just like when you're in the gym. Your best gains come from when you are tired.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You got to push past your limit, and once
Yeah.
you know what your limit are, guess what? You can surpass it, and you just keep repeating the same thing. And I think people a lot of times we get comfortable. Okay, I'm gonna do this. This fits. It works, and that's what I'm gonna go with. But the world is not like how it was when we were growing up. It's way
Yeah.
different now.
hmm
Yeah.
So you have to be 15 to 20 years ahead of where you are now.
hmm
Yeah.
Because you guess what? Your whole quality of life may change due to genetics and medical things. What
Right.
then?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yes. Yes.
Right. And then too, you have to press past what you have known or seen of your
Mhm.
family. Capri
Yes.
made a
Mhm.
great comment when she
Mm-hmm.
said she didn't see structure. That doesn't mean she doesn't have structure. So you have to press
Mhm.
past
Mm-hmm.
what the experiences have been of your foreparents. Like if you had a series of to where your family had this particular demise going on. Well,
Mm-hmm.
that's part of legacy too. When
Yeah.
you change the trajectory of what your family has seen over generations, you
Mhm.
have the power to do that. If you see
Mm-hmm.
a destructive habit and it's going on for 4 or 5 generations, you don't have to participate in it.
You sure don't.
Neither do you have to
No, you do
Yes.
participate
not.
in
Yes.
them. One thing you got to remember too, and you got to pay attention to this. When you go to the doctor, what do they ask you about your family's what history?
History.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
What did your family do before you came on along? Did they have this? Did they have that? Because they try to instill in your mind that this negative thing is going to eventually happen to you.
Yes,
So
they
I,
do.
I
Mhm.
talked to a doctor one time and they said, yeah, we saw that this is something in your family along the lines, da 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 da. And I said, What does that have to do with me? And he said, what do you mean, what does it have to do with you? I said, every time y'all ask these questions, you never look at the person as that individual. You look at
Yeah.
the person based on somebody else's decision. You don't ever
Yes.
give that person a fair opportunity to make a new choice. So ask me
Mhm.
what I'm doing. At this particular age, my mom didn't do what I do. So if
Mm-hmm.
my mom didn't do what I did at this age, then there's a very strong probability that at the age that I get to that the age that she is at now, I won't have the same exact things to happen because guess what? My mom wasn't doing what I do now at my age. So if you go
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
off a history lesson, let me help you help yourself, Dr. Such and such and thus, so I ain't gonna call him out on here. But I was telling that doctor, I said, you got to think about it. When you have these conversations with your patients, you got to think about, is this person actually participating in what that previous family member participated in order for them to have that specific outcome.
Right.
And
So
they never ask those questions. Think about it. When's the last
it's
time a doctor asked you, hey, I know your uncle John and all of them had lung cancer. Do you smoke? They normally don't ask you up front. They ask you and they try to base it off of, oh yeah, you got 5 generations of obesity. This
biases.
gentleman say, do I look
Bias.
obese to you? And you
Bias.
just kind of have to check. You have to check these doctors. Seriously, you have to check them. And you have to be able to defend your own honor. And you got to consider when you talk about producing legacy, health is a legacy. Changing the
absolutely.
health of
Yes, it
your
is.
body. I mean,
Yes, it
literally, if you
is.
had a family, they had destructive practices, destructive behaviors, you do not have to participate in that. You can make a different set of choices that will change the trajectory of what your family experiences.
Yes,
Literally, if you got a family full of alcoholics, you don't have to be an alcoholic.
you sure
You can
Yeah,
don't.
say, I don't even have it in my house. Or if I do, I have it based on this amount of quantity or something. I don't have a whole mini bar at my house because I know I don't want to expose my children to a big mini bar. Different things
Mm-hmm.
that you can do to make things begin to look different for the
Mm-hmm.
future
Mhm.
of your
Yep.
family. So that's leaving a legacy as well. It's not just about a job and it's not just about a business. It's about the
Mm-hmm.
whole
absolutely.
human. It's
Yeah.
about the whole human.
Coffee. Coffee. When I tell you just said everything, when I decided to go down a holistic approach, when I finished school for holistic wellness, my eyes was open to a lot of new information and I didn't know all of these different things about the acidic level and alkaline and things of that sort. So I
Mm-hmm.
started changing what I was doing because my children was having allergic reactions to a lot of the stuff we was eating. So I stopped them from eating a lot of things in my family. When I say I was met with so much adversity and just rebuttal and them trying to combat what I'm doing, and I'm like, these are my children, and what
Period.
I choose to do with them is totally up to me, nobody else, right?
Mhm.
And at one point, my aunt, one of my aunts tried to like intervene and give my child something that I didn't agree to. And I said, you just have to respect my decision.
Right.
And she didn't think about it, but later on she came back and she said, you're absolutely right. I have to respect it. And that just changed everything for my family just by me choosing to do things differently. My granny
Mhm.
started doing things differently. My dad
Mm-hmm.
changed his whole life. They started to see health differently. And
Mm-hmm.
health is a legacy. Like the way
It is.
you choose to be, it affects your children
It
because
really does.
children, it's all learned behavior. They don't know unless you introduce them to it, right? Or if they're
Mm-hmm.
introduced to it. So being a
Mm-hmm.
proactive parent in what you're choosing for for yourself and for your children makes a huge difference in your legacy, you know?
Very true.
So I was able to change so much within my children and their health, helping my dad with his health. His whole life changed. He's a totally different person in this day and age. When he was only 40, he looked like he was about 50. And now that he's 50, he looks like he's 40. So that's
Yeah,
huge. A lot of people don't think
it is.
about health when they think about legacy.
And that's good. I'm glad you said that because you can literally change everything about yourself just by making new decisions. And I love how you said because I remember when I was younger, my dad got sick, like real sick when we were kids. And the doctor told him, saying, hey, you heading down a path to have high blood pressure. And they were like, you need to eliminate salt. the same day when him and my mom came home, they took all of the
Wow.
salt out the house, all of it
Wow.
out the house, and learned how to have other ways, other alternative ways of making food savory. And they literally got rid of the salt. And so, like, I've never used salt. Like my whole entire life, I've never gone to the store and bought salt to put in food, not once. And so just things like that. And that
Mhm.
created a different trajectory for us because think about it. Had I had salt in my life, I would have been utilizing it as a normal consumable. But when my
Mhm.
parents stopped, like they were like, nah, we're done with salt. And we're like, oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, oh, okay. So yeah, that's good. That's really good to hear, and I love to hear the impact that the transformation has had on your family, especially the older individuals in the family. Because a lot of times, when the older individuals get wind of something new, a new ideology, a new thought, a new pattern, they literally push back, and it can take
Mhm.
them a significant amount of
Yeah.
time that they don't have to make that adjustment. I was talking to an older family member of mine who had started back exercising and then she stopped again. I said, hey, listen, whatever you do, you're going to have to choose to exercise. Here, if it's just walking is like one of the most powerful things you can do for yourself. I said, even if it's just doing that, hopping on that treadmill 30 minutes a day, because she has a treadmill at her property. I said, even if it's
Mhm.
just hopping on that treadmill 30 minutes a day, I said, you
Yeah.
have got to have major activity. You got to have activity. If you don't, you're going to find yourself in a situation where you're not going to enjoy your twilight years. You don't have to be older and unhealthy. You don't have to be older
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
not have your
Yeah.
Yeah.
strength. You don't have to be older and your body is falling apart. You don't have to be any of those things. You can have a phenomenal older life and just have a full enjoyment of your life. Period.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jason, you're back with us?
Jason, you still with us?
I didn't know I went away. I was sitting here just checking it out. You know what I mean? I was sitting here digging what y'all was saying. Some things don't even need a comment. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
It's
sitting
some
here
good
really digging.
stuff.
I'm
Some
telling
Absolutely.
good
you,
stuff.
I'm loving it because I mean, and I love how we're talking about it because I think people limit legacy to one aspect of their being. When
Mm-hmm.
you talk about it from a faith perspective, my son said to me
Mhm.
the other day, he was like, "Hey, I went to go to visit this ministry that we used to go to years ago," and I was like, "Really?" He was like, "Yeah, I went over there because I need to start, being in a community of faith of believers, faith-based
Mm-hmm.
initiative." I
Mhm.
need to get back engaged in the community. And I was like, that's what's up. That's dope. Now, had
Mhm.
he not seen that, then he wouldn't have had something to go by. He would have had to create it. There's another thing,
Yeah.
too. Sometimes we have to create a new set of things to create a new definition of what legacy means to us and the execution thereof.
Yeah.
Because some things
Absolutely.
we never even
True.
saw, we didn't
Very
experience
true.
it, we didn't have access to it. Nobody actually shared that with us. So we have to literally go in there and create something totally new that we did not know from our foremothers and our forefathers. That's another thing, too. And I love
Mhm.
how DePria mentioned earlier, and I think Vincent alluded to this as well. When you got to go in there and start educating yourself. I was listening to an audio book and I started listening to it, especially through the week. I listen to it every day until I get it totally in my system. And it was talking about how every day you should be learning something new. If it's a
Mm-hmm.
word,
Mm-hmm.
looking up
Mm-hmm.
something on just like, just finding out what's going on, some kind of history lesson about what happened today in 1802 or something, just something new where you're opening your mind to new information because
Yeah.
what happens
Mhm.
is your mind goes before your body does. So you,
Yes.
you
Yeah.
want to
Mm-hmm.
make sure that you keep your mind just as strong as you're keeping your body. That's legacy
Mhm.
as well. You don't want to find yourself with symptoms of dementia and Alzheimer's and all that stuff because you haven't continued to feed your mind
Yes.
the right
Yes.
Yes.
type of
Yes.
information to keep your brain constantly going. One major thing that you can do is crossword puzzles.
Yeah.
Crossword
Yeah.
puzzles. You can do crossword puzzles. You can do some type of game to where it causes you to have to think.
Yeah.
Where you have some kind of thought provoking aspect of it. Like I used to play, and I probably will start back doing it when I have some time to do it, when I have my downtime. I used to play solitaire all the time.
I still
Mhm.
do.
I always play solitaire because I would go on there and I would learn how to play it so well that I would stop losing, and then I would make it harder, because you can make it harder, Jason. You go on there, you just make it more
Mm-hmm.
challenging. And the more challenging I made it, the more frustrated I would get. But at the same time,
You
it's helping
challenge
your
yourself.
brain. Yeah, it's
Mm-hmm.
helping your brain with your brain functionality and to keep your brain moving forward. Sometimes you have to take a class just for the sake of you doing more with your brain, because
Yes.
some people need some kind of external force to help them.
Mm-hmm.
They can't just do it on their own. You got to take a class or look at some type of course, or identify something that you're attracted to and create a new hobby for yourself, something like that, to where you're starting to do more with your brain. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I was looking yesterday, Jason. I know you're gonna think this funny, but I was looking at yesterday because you know how in the summertime, I had one of those big what is it called? What is it called? The big palm tree thing? You know what I'm talking about in the front of the
Mm-hmm.
house? I have one of those big trees, and every year what happens is it starts to bring up new limbs, but
Yep.
the old limbs don't fall off.
Yeah.
That tree is so
Yep.
interesting to me. So I'm sitting up there trying to figure out how I'm gonna cut it off without chopping myself up like I did last year. I told Jason, I was like, man, I was out there
Wow.
last year, y'all. It was so funny. I was out there and the whole while I was like, man, my hand. And then I was like, Jason, I cut my hands and everything. He was like, did you have on gloves? Yeah, but I don't think that was the right one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because that thing, and it made my hands break out and everything. But it was just something I was like, I want to tackle this and see if I could do it myself. And I was looking at it yesterday. I was like, I don't know if I want to. I think I might have to go and pay that nice man to get him to do it because I don't think I
You
want
know
to
something,
mess with that.
Coffee? You just two things that I love. First of all, the mind is a muscle. You have to stretch it. If you don't
Yes,
stretch it, you're not getting anywhere. So stretching your brain and stretching yourself and building that muscle and learning new things, all it does is add to you. It's
yes.
not never gonna hurt you, you know. But when it comes to plants, I love plants so much because they're like a reflection of us that we would never really truly be able to understand without taking time to nurture plants,
Hmm.
because the more that you learn a specific plant, one, you're stretching your mind, but two, you're learning how to care for this plant the way that it's made. So
Hmm.
it's so intriguing. But to your point of just how important it is for us to stretch our minds daily, I used to be an adamant reader, like reading and being an author, speaking, those things I love so much. I love writing. So I've always been a person to write about everything and reading, but I used to just read a variety of things, but now I only read like self-help or self-development. And I've been on this kick for so long. A friend of mine, she was like, "Oh, maybe you need to read something fictional." And I'm like, I don't know. I'm not really in that type of time right now. Like I'm really big on learning new things and how can I grow my mind and grow myself, because again, if I'm looking to become this person 5 years from now, 10 years from now, I gotta have the tools and the mindset to be that person, right? So
Exactly.
Yeah.
think that that's important too, like your spiritual legacy, your mental legacy, your health, physical body wise legacy. I don't think that enough of us really take the time to really understand that you are leaving a legacy. The things that you put into your children and the way that you lead them in certain aspects helps build them into a character that is determined about legacy, living and building generational wealth. Because I know that if I wouldn't have did a lot of these things that I do, my children wouldn't be who they are today. And that comes with me being proactive and taking that time to really learn more so I can not only earn more, but become a better version of myself. So I just love everything we've been talking about tonight.
I know, right? And Jason made a good
Mhm.
point when he was talking about going outside and learning the atmosphere, learning the earth, learning how the
Oh
earth
my God,
responds
yes.
to um, you know um, farmland or cattle or different things. How the scent, the smell, being able to understand and know, saying, "Oh, I'm getting close to wildlife. I smell something
Mhm.
different in the air than I smell when I was." 100 feet behind me. So I'm starting to smell something smells different. So I must be getting closer to wildlife. So I got to make sure I pay attention, to my surroundings. Because something else is out here other than what I was familiar with when I was back there. And I think that's something that we have to, embrace too, because a lot of people,
Yeah.
even interestingly enough, people don't do stuff like go to the zoo anymore and learn
Yeah.
about the animals, just different
The
things like
zoo not the
that. Or
same.
yeah, or go to museums or just different things like that
Yeah.
where you can actually understand and know something different than you are accustomed to being exposed to. The museum is powerful. The
Mm-hmm.
orchestra, just different things like
Mm-hmm.
that. Getting the symphony orchestra is amazing. It just gives you
Yes.
an opportunity to have different exposures. Another thing you can do to help open your mind to different legacy experiences is step out of the genres of music that you're normally accustomed to entertaining. You can step
Mm-hmm.
into other genres of music just to identify, like, man, what, and look up the artists, find out who they are, find out why they even got into music, what makes
Mm-hmm.
their music significantly different, why are people attracted to this music, what, why would you even want to listen to something like this? Well, somebody else is
Mm-hmm.
thinking the same thing about the music that you listen to. So
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Correct.
to open up our minds and open up
Absolutely.
our experiences and make ourselves more fluid and more attractive, not only to ourselves, but to our future selves. Because when you think about it, if you believe at some point that you're going to be prominent and you're going to be a person of affluence and influence and extreme wealth, you've got to position yourself to be attractive to the people that already are having those experiences. So when your time comes, you'll be attractive to the people that want to be where you are. So that's just some things that you can do to broaden your horizons and open your mind and open your understanding. And
Mm-hmm.
lastly, consider on your commutes, instead of listening to music, listening to audiobooks. Find something that has a pace to where it doesn't make you feel like you're sleepy. You got to find audiobooks that kind of have a certain
Yeah.
energy level attached to them while you're
Yeah.
commuting, so you don't feel,
Mm-hmm.
start feeling sleepy.
Bored.
Yeah, bored and sleepy. And start listening to audiobooks, because I'm telling you, when you're in your vehicle, something magical happens when you're in your vehicle and you're in transit and you're commuting. And it really, really helps you to kind of think through some things, even wherever you're going, especially if you're dealing with, work and different environments where you may run into certain things of opposition, opposing energies. When you have an audiobook playing that's positive and the information that you're ingesting is positive and coming into you, you respond a lot differently, a whole lot
Yeah.
different.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But we are at the top of the hour. This has been a powerful, powerful session. Seriously. And I've enjoyed the conversation. And God, forgive me for my technical difficulties, guys. We're gonna try to figure out what's going on out here in this technology
No
world. But
worry, we took care of it, Coffee. We
I
figured
appreciate
it
it. I
out.
saw y'all rolling. I was like, that's what I'm talking
Mm-hmm.
about. They
We keeping
rolling,
it
they
going.
rolling. I
That's what we
appreciate that.
do.
Yeah.
Appreciate that. Appreciate that. Guys, definitely connect with all of these amazing people on the platform. We, of course, have other people that are a part of our show as well. They're not here with us tonight, but they will be back. And Jason has been nominated for some amazing awards. Jason, can you share how people can go ahead and get their votes in for you? Congratulations on your nomination.
Hey, I appreciate it. Yeah. And I'm actually not the only one that got nominated. She threw that to me, and I appreciate the edification. Miss Coffee Brown is actually on there as well. And we both got nominated for the Black Excellence Awards. It's an award that they give out here in Houston. Um, I'm still trying to figure out the website because we had some technical difficulties. But let me see if I can find that website to get on ever so quickly here. But it's the Black Excellence Awards for 2025.
Mm-hmm.
We ask that you get online and check it out. Just look it up, Black Excellence Awards.
That's what's up.
I don't have the link offhand right now. I'm working on that so I could share it with people more and more. There was a challenge with the website that I got on earlier when I tried to vote for myself, because I'm going to
Period.
vote for myself.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Period.
I definitely
Yeah.
got to big up
Yeah.
myself, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
But
yeah, most definitely. No doubt.
look it up, please. A vote for me is definitely appreciated, as well as Miss P Coffee Brown. She's on there as well. They got a lot of good influencers on there. Everybody who does podcasts as we do. as well as entertainers. They have congressmen and, public officials on there. So, I definitely appreciate anybody who may have nominated me. Also, anybody who's voting for me. I definitely appreciate it. I think
Same.
the categories I'm under, I think, is the Men of Valor. And
Awesome.
also, I think it was Best Actor award as well.
That's
I can't remember if it's male
Amazing.
or female or if it's just in general. But yeah,
awesome.
please vote for me.
That's
Black
what's
Excellence
up.
Awards.
That is what's up.
Hey,
Congratulations.
That's
I
what's
congrats,
appreciate
up.
it.
congrats,
Love it, love it,
congratulations,
love it.
congrats.
Well, with that being said, and now that we know that the cat is truly out of the bag, definitely connect with us. Get those votes in. Black Excellence Awards, like Jason said, you can just take a look and look that up. And we appreciate you guys tuning in and tapping into the show. Remember to love yourself and love on somebody else. Enjoy the balance of the day. We'll see you guys again for another edition of Tea Coffee Brown. Grace and peace until then.